Don't let expectations prevent you from finding joy. Um, and I wrote this down as the first point in my notebook. And when I first wrote that down, I was thinking to myself, what do I mean by that, and how can I express that in words and in my thoughts? And for a while, I just had that first line written down and didn't really have anything else. But I was watching a TikTok recently. I don't know the creator's name because it was maybe a couple of days ago now, and I think I might have liked it, but I can't remember. And she was speaking about slowing down the pace that she speaks in. And notoriously, I'm someone who normally speaks really fast, but specifically when I've wanted to do stuff in front of the camera, it's definitely been something that I think has maybe not helped me as much. And then decided to come back to my notebook and look at that first line that I wrote. And afterwards, I wrote stuff about. I wrote this exactly. I think this is more in note form than full sentences. But I wrote, a lot of the time we place expectations on certain things, such as relationships, events, and day to day life. And then after that, I said, these prevent you from giving experiences their true appreciation. And what I think I'm really trying to say with that is, in so many things we do in life, we have an expectation of what that thing will bring to us and how it will impact us. For example, in relationships, I think a lot of the time now, because of we see so many other people live in their own relationships, we see how other men treat their women, we see how other women treat their men, and because love is such a beautiful thing, we look at that and see that, and then be like, okay, that's something I want to experience, which is natural and makes sense. But then, because we're seeing these specific acts from other people in their other relationships, we then put an expectation of what love should be like, or what our boyfriend should be like, or what our girlfriend should be like. And then when we finally have the opportunity to have these type of relationships, because it's not exactly what we expected, we then think maybe we're not loved or it can't go anywhere. But in reality, I feel like if we then give those opportunities time and actually really let them marinate and brew, then we would come to find that the things we have in the moment, despite it not being what we thought it could have been, is still something so amazing that I think many people would wish they could have. And I think the idea of having these expectations, not just in relationships anymore, but in general, takes away the appreciation we could have for things in life. For example, going to events, as I said, like a concert, for example, or you're going to a social event. If you walk in there with the idea of how it's going to go and how it's going to be, if that idea of yours is then not fulfilled, you then feel like that day or that event or that moment was wasted because it wasn't exactly what you intended it or wanted it to be. But I don't think that's the case. I think there's so many things in life that we have done and have gone into and probably not expected and probably had expectations, but what we got from that moment or that event wasn't what we expected. But in hindsight, we look back at it and think, I still really enjoyed that day. And I think if in life we went through things without expectations as much, we could really find the joy and appreciation for a lot of the things that are surrounded by us. I think if we just generally go into things with an open mind and not expecting certain things to happen or it to become a certain way or it to be a certain way, we then would find ourselves being so much more appreciative of what there is and what there was. And for a lot of us, that we do find that appreciation, but that tends to come in hindsight. And as much as it is good to look back in the past and realize something was great, or to look in the future and think something could be great, I think the most important thing is to have that moment in the present. I think the present is so important. To really focus on the present can really help us and lead us to find more appreciation of things and to honestly feel better. And once I feel like we become deep rooted in the present in all things, we start to have more joy in life. We start to appreciate things more. We start to have a more positive outlook. Because once we are starting to take in what's around us in the moment without expectations or without these demands that we think it must have, we really truly find that there's so many things that we love in the moment that we're in. And I think that is so important for us in order just to even shift our mindset on many things in life. I think nowadays we have such a pessimistic mindset, whether it be due to comparison or whether it be due to things that we see on the internet or even just the news, for example. Think about what's just the world at the moment. Every time you turn on the TV to see the news, or every time you go on Instagram and get a new report, or every time you go on TikTok and see a video or something, it's always negativity. And obviously sometimes it's good to be real and see, the things that are happening in their life, because as we know, sadly, not everything in the world is positive. But I think a lot of the time that we are then so heavily influenced by the negative, then that becomes our own mindset and all that we know. And then that kind of strips us from finding appreciation and joy in other things in life, because we may look at things and not take it how it really should be taken, and kind of we take things around us for granted. I think the fact that, every day when we go outside, we're so fast paced. We're outside because maybe we're heading to work, or we're outside because we have to get somewhere on time, or we're outside because we have to go to the shop to get something. And I feel like when we are then outside, because we have a goal of something else, we don't take in what's around us. We kind of just have our mindset on that one thing, and then that leaves us kind of not really appreciating what's around us. And